Hi guys, I thought I'd do a really short video for you, and while I say that, we'll see what happens. But I was doing a video earlier in the garden and I had this really strange moment. So I was talking about leaves, and then I was talking about the main plants that the leaves had come from. And I said that it actually, the male plant was the most significant in terms of the plant you'd use for cooking and medicine, and that the female plant was literally, you can make certain products with it, but it wasn't useful for those areas. I got it the wrong way around. So actually, it's the female plant, which is the plant that gives us the the leaf and also the other parts that you use for the cooking. So you don't cook with the leaves. You cook what you use what the plant itself produces. Whereas the male plant actually doesn't produce anything. It is a leafy plant, but you could actually use those leaves that are actually really robust, so you can make certain products with it. And I was just like, I actually said to someone afterwards, I said, how did I get that the wrong way round? How did I manage that? And they were like, oh, I don't know. And I said, seahorses. And they were like, really? And I was like, yeah, seahorses. Because what the pattern in my brain was, very few things in life are, it's normally the female who is the carrier of, offspring. And so I knew that there was one, maybe two, maybe one animal or fish, or I knew there was something, there was a creature on this planet where the male was the the one that bore the fruit or carried the offspring. And so I was like, yeah, I was thinking of seahorses. So that's why I flipped it, because I was like, no, it's this plant. And I think there are plants that cross-pollinate with themselves, or, well, actually with a lot of flowers, I think the pollination comes from actually the bees going from one to the next, and the wind carrying seeds and so forth. So seahorses. So why would what's happened next? Okay, so I thought, right, well, now I'm on a page looking at seahorses, trying to I thought, yeah, I want to refresh my memory. And not only is it really interesting talking about seahorses, because I don't know how much people know. So for example, I was like, do I have a seahorse? I actually can, well, okay, I might as well say it now, otherwise I'll forget. I actually, at one stage, I was probably about 14, around the age 13, 14. And I wanted, maybe I was younger, because when I had my cat, then I was like, fine, I've got my cat, and she takes a lot of attention. But around that young age anyway, I was thinking, I wanted to have a seahorse. And I thought that would be really unusual. And I didn't want to have, other fish. I was just interested in the seahorse. And then someone said to me, oh no, you can't have seahorse in the house, it's bad luck. And I was just like, oh, I didn't know that, it's bad luck. And actually, I mean, I don't know what they're referring to. I'm sure there is a story behind that. But then tonight I was on this like rabbit hole reading about seahorses. And in a way, after what I've read, some of the things were refreshing my memory, some of the things I learnt, I can understand why you would consider it to be bad luck to have a seahorse in the house. I'm going to go through some of the facts actually, and then I'll explain what I mean by that. But I thought I'd wear blue tonight to represent the sea. And I've got a necklace on, which has actually got shells. These are shells. Okay, so I don't have anything seahorsey, but then I thought, you know what? We don't tend, and I'm, some people do, some people don't, but a lot of people don't tend to know a lot about seahorses. Like if I asked, sat at a party and said, "Hey guys, give me 3 facts on seahorses," I'd be pleasantly surprised if everyone could do that. However, I thought they're so commonplace, like in the mind, and I guess mythology, kind of fantasy stories maybe. They're that kind of unusual creature. So then I thought, I've got to have a seahorse in one of my art books. Got to. So I've got this book here, the Magic Garden, and it's colouring book. And basically I was flicking through. So is there anything I've actually coloured in? Because it's very fancy paper. So I don't know if you can see, but first of all, the paper's really thick card, but also it's got finish on it, like silvery. So, obviously I don't want to make a mess. So I may not have actually started anything in here. I don't know if I actually want to colour it in, to be honest. I actually think it's just really nice as it is. I think that's what I decided. No, there's nothing in here. So anyway, so that you must have a seahorse. There you go, we have a seahorse. Now for me, whenever I see a seahorse, I think of males. And I think it is that fact that the male seahorse is the one that carries the baby. So for that reason, I think that's why I always think of that first, because that's that one fact that people do know, like quite a few people know about the seahorse. I haven't got anything to put the seahorse, so it can just sit here with us. To be honest, I want to take you on a special website. But so this book, it's got animals in it, but it's a magical garden, and it's, you know what I mean? So it's all kind of fantasy. Let's see if we can find something. Even the way these birds are shaped, it's pretty realistic, but just with the shiny paper and everything else, it's very magical, this book. So yeah, it's on metallic paper, so that's why I'm very excited. So what I would say about that is, that's the setting you see the seahorse in. Okay, so this is what I've been reading this evening. So I'm going to share a screen with you. Okay, and we are going to take a closer look. So share. Okay, so look, here we are, the Seahorse Trust. Okay, so Seahorse Trust. There's a seahorse for you. I was thinking I'd leave this picture of the seahorse up and I'll read the text from my phone, just so we can see, who we're talking about. Okay, so I was reading this for ages. So yeah, actually, you know what? I think they've got quite a few pictures of the seahorses, so maybe we should work our way down, become acquainted with them. Okay, so we're not at the top. Oh no, here we go. My mouse. Okay, seahorse facts. Well, there's one that's interesting. Is it seahorse or is it seahorse one word? Because that's different. Anyway, not a problem. Not of any. It's not a seahorse fact, so that's not how to spell it. But no, it's the way they've spelled it in the title there, in the name. Okay, so the Latin name for the seahorse is the hippocampus, which means horse caterpillar, which is interesting because we've got the hippocampus, part of the brain. So, yeah, that's something we have in common with seahorses in a way. Okay, so diet. Seahorses eat small crustacea such as mysis shrimp. an adult eats 30 to 50 times a day, and a seahorse fry, which is the little baby one, so small fry, people say, oh, small fry, they're like little fish. Well, these guys are literally called fries. They eat a staggering 3,000 pieces of food per day. So, I mean, obviously they've got the nose, the snout, but if they had to eat all that food with their mouth, I'm sure their jaw would be really aching by the end of the day. So what is a seahorse? Okay, well, a seahorse is a fish. They live in water, they breathe through gills, and they have a swim bladder. However, they do not have caudal fins, and they have a long snake-like tail. They also have a neck and a snout that points down. Okay, so they have like what I would describe as their own little shimmy through the water. They've got kind of a unique way of moving, and they've got a really unique look as well. So I find them to be, when you see them in fantasy, when you see them in art, they're very decorative, and it's quite interesting to see them in real life. Yeah, fascinating. So the British seahorses, so there are 2 species around the British coastline. Now I've learned that worldwide, and I don't know if it's going to say it in here, if we're just going to talk about the British, how many is there? 40 species? We'll double check that in a minute, but there's quite a few species around the world. And but we have 2 on the British coastline. So the spiny seahorse, which is the hippocampus gutulatus, and the short-snouted seahorse, which is the hippocampus. And let me see if I can look up that fact then. So what did I say? Oh yeah, how many species are there of seahorse? I swear it was like 40 or 45 maybe. How many species of seahorse? Oh man. Seahorse are there? 54. Okay, so if you'd taken my guess of 45 and turned the numbers round, then I would have got it right, but we didn't do that, so 54. And there's possibly many subspecies as well, so that for me is quite surprising. So now I want to kind of go and look into all the different types and colors, and so yeah, 1 second. Let's check. All right, so I think we'll revert back to here actually. It's a bit slower on my phone. Okay, so both British seahorses can be found in the Shetland Isles, mainly down the west coast of the UK and all around Ireland. That freaks me out a bit because I actually remember going to Ireland when I was really young. Half of my family are Irish, so like I remember one time I went, I was really young, and we went to the beach, and basically, so there was all these round, like, let me share a second. Yeah, so like I was with my family. I was probably about 11 or 12. I might have been younger. I might have been more like 8. Anyways, this doesn't matter. Anyway, so we went to the beach, Ballybunion, and we saw all these round circles on the beach, and I'm not joking. They were literally lined along the beach in all these lines, like perfectly in line. They looked like perfectly spaced, like someone had put them there. And me being a kid, and I'd never seen anything like this before. I thought, what have I seen? They look like, at McDonald's when you buy a drink like a Coca-Cola, and they have those plastic tops, those round tops. They were exactly that size. So somewhere in my brain I said, oh, they must be lids for cups. So that means there was obviously a party on the beach last night, and everyone dropped all the lids were left on the floor. I don't know how as in now I'm thinking, I'm not sure. But anyway, so on that basis, you'll understand what happens next. So I'm one of those kids I was one of those kids who, I love being in the sea, love swimming. Swimming is like my main thing, especially for fitness. I think it's like incredible. However, I don't like going in the sea when there's things around your feet. Like seaweed makes me get freaked out when it starts to tangle around you. And I think, what it is, and it probably depends who you are as well as how you're affected. When you watch films and horror films, all these things, and you see like something gets tangled around the leg and then they're getting pulled down, so I think there was a fear thing going off in my head there when things like that tangle around me. But what was different about the Irish Sea is that they've actually got like creatures in it. So it's not a case of just going in the sea and it's like, oh, it's clear. No, there was like stuff swimming with you. And apparently seahorses, I would have been so freaked out if seahorses that landed on me. Anyway, so I'm in the water and I was with my dad, I think, and these round circular things are in the water. I was like, oh my gosh, there's another one. And he went, don't go near that, that's a jellyfish. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, that's a jellyfish. I don't know if they've got a sting or not. Because we're in England, or we're in Ireland at the time. So, UK and Ireland, we don't tend to have really offensive, aggressive creatures. Not to say you wouldn't get the odd one, like a freak occurrence, but, everything's kind of mild over here, from the weather to the insects to everything else, compared to the really hot climates. So, so he's like, yeah, that's jellyfish. And I was just like, what? And I actually missed a part of this story. Yeah, I missed it. Maybe I don't think he told me in the sea. I think what happened was this is what happened. I went in the sea and my dad was there and I was with my brother, and we saw the round things floating. It wasn't then that he told me. We went back onto the beach and then me and my brother, I remember I did, I can't remember if he did, I actually picked one up and ran over to my mum and dad and went, look at this. Look, why have people left all these bottle lids everywhere? And either my mum or my dad went, no, and flicked it off my hands. Like, that's a jellyfish. I was just like, what? Because I had seen them in the water and I was like, I don't really want them around me, but I didn't know it was a jellyfish. He went and picked it up and they're like, no. And then obviously, like however many years later, I saw that episode of Friends with Monica and Rachel. I can't remember. I wasn't someone I've only seen the episodes once or twice ever. But I just know that like one of them had to like go to the toilet on the other one because they got stung by a jellyfish or a stingray, or I don't know, some kind of stingy thing from the water. And so like now I'm like, whoa. But it was Ireland, and they were purple, so they were like see-through with like some purple in the center. So like, I'm not sure if they might not have a sting, or if they do, it might not be like that bad, But yeah, I'm sure, to be fair, if they had a sting, they would have stung me when I picked it up. Anyway, I digress. So there would have been seahorses in that water as well, which is quite freaky because I just can't handle things swimming around me. Let's share. There we go, we're back. Okay, let's have a look. So we've talked about the British seahorse, so the snout. Seahorses have long, thin snouts, enabling them to probe into nooks and crannies of food. When they find food, they suck it up through their snouts like a vacuum cleaner. Their snouts can expand if their prey is larger than the snout. They are not able to chew and they have to disintegrate the food as they eat. Now, I read something else today as well, and it said that they don't actually have a digestive system. or they, for instance, they can't, so it says here they're not able to chew, so they have to kind of disintegrate the food. But you know, this is the thing, it's very hard to explain. Like with you know, I've been looking at different sources, so hang on. Seahorses and eating. Yeah, because somebody described it on a website actually, which was quite interesting. It was a bit more complex though. That's why I'm kind of trying to look it up, because I wouldn't be able to. Here it is. Here it is. Okay, so it's from thoughtco.com. Special feeding adaptations of the seahorse. So it says here, yeah, so it says the 55 species. Only a small handful are commonly seen in tropical and temperate waters of the Pacific and Atlantic. Okay, so seahorses are one of the only fish that swim in an upright position because they're slow at swimming. They're slow at swimming due to their, you know, their kind of form. But sorry, I stopped because it says seahorses are generally considered to be evolved from a pipefish. Now, I don't know what a pipefish is, and I don't want to get in another rabbit hole, but it just made me laugh. Pipefish. Okay, so this is a bit we want. Seahorses, how they eat. Because they swim so slowly, eating can be a challenge for the seahorse. Further complicating things is that a seahorse has no stomach. It needs to almost constantly it needs to eat almost constantly because food quickly passes straight through its digestive system. So it has a digestive system, but not in the sense that we would recognize. So there isn't a stomach, there isn't the chewing mechanism so that they can, you know, chew their food. So they have a digestive system, but it's not as we would typically expect. An adult seahorse will eat 30 to 50 times per day, while baby seahorses eat 3,000 pieces of food per day. So, I mean, that's wild. Seahorses do not have teeth, so that's another part of our digestive system. You know, because we start in the mouth, swallow, down, you know, further digestion as we go down to the intestines, etc. And we carry our acids in our stomach for breaking things down. They don't have one, they don't have a stomach. Okay, so because they're a bit shit at swimming, and they're a bit slow, that's why they've got the long neck, so it's adapted so they can actually catch prey. So they eat the shrimp, so they can catch the shrimp. Oh my gosh, okay. I think it's going to have this fact in here actually, so I'm not going to say it. So let's get back to this one first, because then there's something else I want to say from there. Okay, so seahorses, yeah, so they have the snout, so they can deal with their food. And, you know, they're just constantly, yeah, but they don't have hands, so they're doing it with the snout. Eyesight, now this one's interesting. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is where they remind me of lizards a bit, you know, like those, or chameleon or something like that. Two reasons actually. So one, they change color as a chameleon does, but two, the eyesight. So seahorses have excellent eyesight, and their eyes are able to work independently on either side of their head. This means they can look forwards, backwards at the same time, and this is particularly useful as they hunt for food by sight. So that's fascinating. They can look all over the place. Yeah, there's a few kind of reptiles, cold-blooded creatures that do that too. So it kind of reminds me, you know, of them, just as there are quite a few underwater creatures who, you know, have that connection to dinosaurs and you know, that kind of, well, it is, isn't it, like the crocodiles and the lizards that we see. Anyway, courtship. So this one's interesting. So seahorses pair for life, which I think is amazing. They don't cheat on each other. They're not mean to each other. They've got their thing. They know what they're doing. So they meet first thing in the morning to reinforce their pair bonding with an elaborate courtship display. Maybe something we should all do if we've got time. Maybe it should be the evening. The female meets the male in his territory, and as they approach each other, they change colour. I have to find a video where they change colour, or I might try and find some pictures. That's easier. It always affects my sound when I put audio, try and play videos. Okay, so the male circles around the female and the pair often spiral around an object. This display can last up for an hour. Once over, the female goes back to her territory. So, you know, an hour a day, quality time, so that's quite nice. Keeps the seahorse population going. Territory, so females, I love this fact. Oh my gosh, it's so necessary though. Okay, so females have a territory of about 100 square meters and males have a territory of about 0.5 square meters. Their territories overlap. So obviously the female can, you know, share a part of her 100 square meters. But yeah, maybe she can't. Okay, now this is the one that, you know, this is why we're here basically, because I was thinking of the plant and the male being the one, and actually it's the female as usual, whereas here the seahorse, Mr. Seahorse, he means that we can't turn it into an overall statement, because he stands out and says, well no, actually let me tell you what I go through. So the male is the only creature where the male has a true reverse pregnancy. The female transfers the eggs to the male, which he self-fertilizes in his pouch. So there's no fun time here. She's just like, here you go, mate. And he's like, all right, then I'll put it in my pouch, and sorts it out himself. The number of eggs can vary from 50 to 150 for smaller species to 1,500 for larger species. So that's a lot of eggs. That's a lot of potential seahorses, which is good. So they receive everything they need in the pouch, from oxygen to food. Gestation time varies from 14 days to 4 weeks. Giving birth can be a long process, with contractions lasting up to 12 hours. So this is one male in the on the planet that can actually say, you know, you can say with the females that have had children, yeah, I know what's going, I know what you mean, I can empathize. I personally don't have children, so he can empathize more than I can. But yeah, so that's really interesting anyway, that reversal. Okay, so we've got some interesting, look, these seahorses all look so different. Okay, so the body, it's unlike any other fish. The seahorse has an exoskeleton. Interesting point there. So their bodies are made up of hard external bony plates that are fused together with a fishy covering. Fishy covering. They do not have scale. They've got a fishy covering. Yeah, so that's why they've got that kind of crustacean look. They almost remind me of crabs. And you know, actually the seahorse, when I look at these different pictures, it's not so much taking me into this fantasy land or this kind of like secret garden. It's actually reminding me of like some of the more, you know, some of these creatures from the sea, from the land, who have been here a long time, who've had such a, you know, played such a significant role in, you know, where the world, you know, where the planet is today in terms of their ecosystems, continuing their species, evolution as time goes by, into cross, you know, there's cross species things, you know, I do, you know, like I think, you know, certain animals in the animal kingdom that are quite similar. Then, so, you know, they actually looking at a real seahorse. It actually reminds me a lot about our planet and about the history and about the variety and about as much as the land as the sea, much the sea as the land in one such as this. Okay, so they rely on their dorsal fin beating at 30-70 times per second to propel it along. Pectoral fins either side of the head help with stability and steering. And habitat, oh, now this is interesting. Habitats, they live in shallow, weedy areas, especially eel grass beds. In winter, they move into deeper waters to escape the rough weather. Well, I was in Ireland in the summer, like the very late spring, early summer. So I probably was safe from like swimming into a seahorse. You know, you've got to check these things now, because that's the thing as a child. Do you know, this is the interesting thing, right? As a child, you have no fear. It's like, do you want to go in the sea? Yeah, I want to go in the sea. Okay, jump in the sea. And then it's like, oh, do you want to, you know, you're so like, you don't do risk assessment. You just do, am I going to enjoy it? Is it going to be fun? Do I have this kind of craving to know what's up there? Or if I jump into here, or she did it, so I'm going to do it, kind of thing. It's all sorts of reasons, but you know, there's not this comprehension of what can happen. But the more and more you learn things as you get older, it can go both ways. It can demystify things for you. So you're like, well, actually, as a child, I was quite scared of that, but now, you know, it's fine. Or for some of us, it can go the other way. And it's like, well, I would go and swim in the sea, but I don't want to get tangled with seaweed. I don't want to swim into any fish or any seahorse type fish or crabs. I don't want to get stung by a jellyfish. So you know what? Actually, I might go in the swimming pool. No, I still go in the sea. I think that's the thing. You have to just kind of, you know, with most things in life, not fixate on what could go wrong and imagine how amazing it is when it goes well, you know, kind of thing. Otherwise you won't get out there, and it's a shame, you know. Even as a kid, I was like, I don't like this. Okay, so let me share this. I think I've nearly got to the end of the facts. But what I also want to do is tell you guys a bit about what do you call it? You know, how they're received in other parts of the world. Okay, so let's see. So here we go. So threats. And my mouth is working, but it's not moving. Okay, here we go. So seahorses, we've talked about where they live. They like the deeper waters when the weather's rough. Okay, so here's the threat. So this is what's really important. So seahorses are under threat worldwide for three main reasons. Okay, so I mean they've stated traditional Chinese medicine here, but I understand that it's various Asian countries. So with Chinese medicine, absolutely. So there is a trade which takes in excess of up to 150 million seahorses a year from the wild, and these are used in all types of medicine. Not sure what the properties are. I'm not sure how influential this ingredient is to the medication. It's certainly not caught on, as in we haven't imported it to my knowledge. I could be absolutely wrong. You might be able to get your seahorse medicine in the, I don't know, I don't think so though. So in that sense, I mean, there are reasons that they say, for example, it's meant to be part of pain relief. So for various things, you know, various different pains of the body, seahorse in the medicine is actually meant to be a pain relief. What else? I'm trying to think what else. There was one or two items which I think were more psychological. So they were talking about, you know, if you take it, it will help prevent this, it will help you stop doing that. And it was like, actually, I think the reason why you're doing that is because you've got something you need to address, like, you know, in your psyche. And it's not actually a case of if I eat seahorse, it's going to help. So, you know, I don't know what the research is into this medication. But when you start talking about, so another reason why, does it say here, so there's the curio trade, which takes approximately 1 million seahorses from the wild, along with the shells and starfish. By the way, guys, these shells are, I mean, they were just like, you know, the shells that, because, you know, a lot of the time we find shells on the beach. So these were originally those kind of shells, and then they put a mother of pearl-esque type coating on them. So just to say, these aren't shells where anyone was pushed out of their home. But yeah, anyway, so they're deliberately taken from the sea and left to die in the sun. So that's awful in itself. I think it's a bit like the plants. I was talking about leaves and so forth in a video, and I was talking about how, you know, you still with them, they dry out. And I mean, I don't know if they literally just take them out the sea and leave them to dry out. This is dry, you know, this is something to really look into, isn't it? And this is all because I got my plant wrong. So here we go. But yeah, I think the other one, so there's older souvenirs, which is a sad and sorrowful reminder of a once beautiful creature. And the pet trade takes an estimated 1 million seahorses from the wild. It's thought that less than 1,000 survive more than 6 weeks. So you have to be very careful if you are going to have seahorse. You can have a seahorse in your aquarium, but you have to be vigilant of what it needs. I mean, they would usually be, you know, on the coast in fresh seawater. They wouldn't be in a tank in a house. So if you're going to take them into that environment, it's thinking about trying to recreate their environment as much as possible, what suits them in terms of temperatures, in terms of, and you know, thinking if you do have other fish, what the interaction between them would be. I had another one and I've forgotten now. So we had the medicine. Oh yeah, that's it. So I can't see it here. It might be further down. No, it's not here. I see. So they say there's 54 species as well. Scientists say it's difficult to identify seahorses because individuals of the same species can vary greatly in appearance. So new species continue to be found. But what they haven't, another threat is eating. So let's have a look at some seahorses. But in Asian countries such as, I believe, China, Vietnam, potentially, I think maybe Japan, they actually eat seahorse and it's considered a delicacy. And sorry, I've got all my jewelry kind of tapping together there. It's considered a delicacy. And so I was kind of looking into seahorse, you know, should you eat it? It said, oh wow, look how small they are. Number of dead seahorses washing up in Dorset. Oh, well, you know, look at this one. I mean, it's not real, but it kind of illustrates how small they are. Let's look at this one. That's pretty. Yeah, because I don't want to look at anything. I don't want to look at that other one. Okay, so we'll just keep this one here. That is stunning, actually. Look at all those colors. It's like a rainbow. But yeah, so I was looking into it, and you know, the overall research suggests that I'm going to be subscribing to everyone about seahorses tonight. There's no nutritional value. There's no value to eating them. They're considered a delicacy. I I don't know anything about it. I have seen them though. So, you know, I've seen where like in countries such as China, they will eat different insects on the stick. So they will, it's some form of toasting them, I believe, or not always, but you know, different ways of cooking them, and just eat them on the stick. So that's what they do with the seahorse as well. They also make, I feel so bad saying it in front of the seahorse, but you know, so they also make seahorse soup, which, I mean, I can't even deal with what's that other one? Octopus, the tentacles, you know. And I remember in Japan, really popular, you got the octopus balls. And basically what they are, oh my gosh, my friend bit into this octopus ball. Oh, it was so horrendous. You see, and that's the thing, it really freaks me out, but you know, that's me. So but then my friend ate this octopus ball and bit into it, and so it all kind of came out, like all the tentacles kind of came out of this, I don't know if it was some kind of rice casing. Oh my god, and the smell, I was just like, no way, no way. Yeah, I like eating gyoza. I probably just ate a load of gyoza that day, so certainly didn't partake in his lunch. But the reason why I mentioned that is because I'm just looking at the tail of the seahorse, and now it's reminding me of the octopus. So many, I mean, it's just such an interesting creature. Okay, so I think that's it for this evening. Stop share. Interesting rabbit hole. I just wanted to share it with you because I don't know how many facts you know about seahorses, but if you've stayed the distance and made it to the end of this video, then you're definitely going to know quite a few things. And they live for 1 to 4 years as well. So that's kind of the average lifespan. So for example, when I was saying about people, you know, if people are going to have them at a home, in a house, a home aquarium, if your seahorse is only living for 6 weeks, that's a problem, because at least a year, that's kind of what, you know, the kind of what you would expect. So if you are going to get a seahorse, you really have to think, you have to, you know, think, what do they need, and try and learn from other people's mistakes where they've just, you know, and people don't do it on purpose. Many people, you know, they'll get fish, they'll get different creatures, and they really have the best intentions. But what we have to remember is, it's like if you got a cat or a dog and they only lived for a couple of weeks, there would be a big question as to how did that happen. And it could well be, you know, they weren't very well, something was undetected, they weren't very well at birth, you know. It's just, you know, you just don't know in a lot of cases. But I think the point is, that's not the average, that is unusual. So I was just thinking, what was the other seahorse thing I wanted to look up to tell you? I can't remember now. How to look after them. So I'm just going to quickly see if it gives us anything like that. So no, I got how to care for your seahorse. So I think we need to put in a bit about care now. I've been talking away about them and you know, so forth. So okay, that's a lovely intro, but I need some information. Oh, it was a super short article, it's like a paragraph. Okay. No, I can't see anything about how to keep fish. It says the most interesting fact is the male gives birth. Well, no, actually, we've learned tonight there's loads of interesting facts about them. And the one that I find fascinating, which I've already mentioned, is that seahorses have many natural predators that it evades, with its ability to change its colors to blend in with almost any background. So that, to me, I mean, I find that fascinating, of when creatures can change You know, when they can change color like that. Here we go, introducing seahorses to a saltwater aquarium. They've been considered difficult to keep alive in an aquarium for any length of time. But once seahorse pioneers determined how to breed them in captivity, which is aquaculturing, keeping seahorses in an aquarium long term became doable. Unlike wild-caught seahorses, captive bred seahorses will readily take hand-fed food. Okay, so I mean, I think the gist there is, you know, thinking about where the seahorses come from, what its journey has been. So if it's been captured from the sea, you know, you're probably going to put it through an element of trauma because it was in its environment, is where it needed to be, and now it's been removed. And it's gone on a journey that it wasn't expecting. It doesn't know what's going on. And then, you know, if it's then put in an adequate environment at the other end, all of that is probably just too much to handle, physically and I don't know anything about the psychology of seahorses. No more tonight. But you know what I mean, that trauma is something that the body feels anyway. So you can see it in all animals, you know, if you know, they might not sense you through hearing, or, you know, so the bat, it's through the sound, through the seahorse, it's through the sight. But what you see with any creature is when they're under threat, they go into a shaky kind of alert kind of thing, just like humans. So yeah, you know, so I think in that sense, you know, you just leave them where they live, you know. But that just kind of suggests that if you do come across a breeder, and, you know, if you do come across seahorses, you could say, you know, has this been bred in captivity? And if they say yes, you know, I wouldn't just go off of what I've said. I would certainly go and do your research and really talk to people who, you know, you can always email someone or Instagram someone who this is their area, it's their speciality. You can always go on to the Seahorses Trust. You could email them and say, hey, I've got this question, and, you know, I'm getting a seahorse. So, you know, they're sure they'll want to, you know, point you in the right direction. As soon as they hear you're getting a seahorse, they'll be like, right, here's our top tips. So, okay, well, I'm going to leave it there. And, you know, it's a shame I don't have, you know, like a model, but we will, you know, let's just one more time look at the fantasy, look at our fantasy. Okay, I've lost it. Could look at some fish instead. Why do I do these things? It's like I'm just going to say goodbye, and then I'm like, I've got a great idea. Oh dear, where's our seahorse? I'm finding all the fish now. Come on. Come on. You know how it is as well, then you're like committed, you're like, no, come on now. I spent all this time, we need to make it all worth it. And also, I don't really want to paint the seahorse because I don't want to ruin the book, but okay, why did I do this? Why did I say it? Such an idiot, so silly. Okay, well, we can finish on fish then. I've lost our seahorse. Maybe it got offended because I was sitting there thinking, oh yeah, fantasy seahorses. Let me tell you about the real deal. It's just like, fine. This is a shame. I should have just, you know. Okay, well, now we're in this kind of loop of, should we wrap it up? Or should we stick to the plan? Stay committed to the seahorse. There we go. I don't know why I did this to us, but there we go. That's what we're talking about. And I'm very tempted, actually. I actually really want to colour that in. And I tell you what I want to do. I want to do it in rainbow, just like the one we saw earlier. So there's a nice project for me there, the secret, the magic garden. All right, guys, time to say goodbye. but I hope you've enjoyed it. And I'm actually going to be doing another video about lobsters. Don't know anything about lobsters. I mean, I do now. That's because I went in one of these rabbit holes about blue lobsters. But otherwise, don't know anything. Don't eat lobster. You know, I was vegetarian for since the age of 11, well into my 20s. So I don't have a big range. So I've never eaten a seahorse, and I don't intend to. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I hope to bring you some more creatures who I find interesting. Generally, I'm motivated by colour, so look out for that. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Bye.